The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
And I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina for you. But first, an update. We're not going to be here next week.
No.
So I'm sorry. I apologize. We're traveling and then we're moving.
Yep.
So we're busy.
Mm-hmm.
We apologize. We will try to only miss a week. See what happens. It might be 2. Hoping it's only 1.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
We will keep you updated.
Oh, yeah. Follow us at Dead Ends.
Nope. He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Oh, no. When I'm not doing the whole spiel.
We'll also post on YouTube. Dead_ends. We can post a little, you know how you can do like the little text post or the regular post?
No, that's good.
We'll do that there for those of you that like to look at us.
Dead-ends at Blue Sky.
Those of you that like to look at us.
Yeah.
Or those of you that didn't want to and you're doing it anyway.
But Dead-ends on Blue Sky.
And next time you see us, we'll probably still be in this environment, actually. I was going to say we might be in a new environment, but we won't.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be in this environment, but there'll be boxes behind us instead of shoes.
Yeah, you'll see.
Well, there might be shoes and boxes.
That's right. Yeah. And you'll see it slowly grow over a couple weeks, probably.
And then maybe, eventually, we'll have a nicer background for you.
That's right.
Some production value increase.
Ah.
Maybe. Or it'll look like shit. Who knows? My interior design skills they're mine, and they're mine alone. They do not call me, I was going to say Joanna Gaines. I know nothing about the Gaines family except that they sell literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've bought none of it because I don't trust people that do that.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
no, I also, where it's like the brand name HGTV
yeah,
people.
and it's like, okay, and now they have paint, and now they have a line at Target, and now they have washable rugs, or I don't know.
Right. And
these are the things I've been Googling, are washable rugs and paint. Can you tell?
Whereas like you would want to go to you're like, I'm just going to go to a company that makes washable rugs and makes paint.
Yeah.
2 separate companies.
Nope. I like to go to a washable rug paint company. But I also don't like Target because,
yeah,
I have some problems.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
That's the big and the tall.
That's right. All right. Well, otherwise, should we get right into it?
We should get right into it.
Okay, we've got a stacked cast list this week. I did 5 to accommodate the Weird Sisters. But first, we are going to start off with Chance Perdermo playing Ambrose Spellman. So in the comics, in the 70s version, Ambrose is like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. He's a hefty middle-aged man with a big mustache.
Okay.
Whereas, obviously, in the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, if you can see, he's a young white guy. At least ish,
Uh-huh.
So, as for Chance, born in L.A., but then moved to Southampton as a child with his mom and stepdad. So, American-born citizen. He's probably got that. He probably had that dual citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
His first role was 2017 in Hetty Feather. I like the name. Was the lead role as Jerome in the 2018 BBC 3 drama film Killed My Dad, and where he was nominated for a British Academy of Television Award for Best Actor, and then was immediately in Sabrina after that. So you told me this. Would you like to tell the background? Because I told it back to you, and you're like, I told you this on him auditioning for Riverdale.
Yeah, so what I read was that he auditioned for Riverdale, he auditioned for Jughead, and that the show creator loved him so much, but he was not a fit for Jughead, that when he wrote Ambrose, he wrote it with him in mind.
Yep.
And he wanted him as this like pansexual, like just like cool character. And Ambrose is my favorite character on the show, hands down.
So good. Yeah. Ambrose is amazing.
Ambrose is amazing. He plays him so well. And he's just like, it's such a good mixture of like empathy and we are what we are, and like he's got such a good mystery about like what happened and why is he the way he is and why is he trapped in the house and how is he a Spellman and like what is like this whole like you're like, oh, how did he end up here?
Mm-hmm. And he gets some fun things this episode too with Luke so big fans of Ambrose here. So then after Sabrina was in the first season of Gen V, which is the Boys spinoff on Amazon, as Andre Anderson. But unfortunately, he passed away at 27. But I think he was on his way to film season 2. At least one story said that. But died in a motorcycle crash.
Yeah,
so,
27, right?
Yeah, super sad. So on Gen V, they just didn't recast his character like in honor of him and wrote in someone new when they brought someone else on. So yeah, because I mean he's so amazing in this show and super charismatic. So it's a real big loss.
Totally, yeah, he's an amazing actor.
All right, impossible pivot off of that sad news over to Michelle Gomez as Mary Wardwell / Demon ? Not to be revealed yet. I wrote it in because her ancestry. She's Scottish. Her first major role in a very Scottish turn was in the 1998 movie The Acid House, which is based on 3 Irvine Welsh short stories. So the guy who wrote Trainspotting. So extremely Scottish.
Vibes.
We loved it. Then starred in
loved it? That's how we feel about Trainspotting?
Oh, I love Trainspotting. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. But I
read it.
Did we not watch it together?
We watched it together, but I had to read it for a class.
Yes, and then I read it after you read it.
Yeah, well, I read it for a class, and I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. And then he made me watch it, and I was like, oh, this is not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I knew the content.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It's a different experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to just see people being horrible and selfish while also being addicts, Trainspotting is for you.
The baby on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Traumatized me.
Set to one of Underworld's best songs, Dark Log Train. Anyways, Michelle Gomez starred in the cult Channel 4 comedy drama The Book Group, had a recurring role in seasons 8 through 10 of Doctor Who as a character called Missy. I have not seen any Doctor Who.
Me neither. I missed that completely.
Yeah, the nerd culture when that was huge, I guess that was early 2010s, maybe even a little bit before, kind of missed me. I did get Sherlock, so the past trickle down from Doctor Who.
I didn't really get either of those. I mean,
Sherlock?
like I knew it existed, but I didn't watch either. No, and I feel like it was something that like some of my like friends liked, but like I was not a participant.
Yeah, no one in my immediate vicinity watched it, so I never watched it, but I listened to podcasts where people did watch it. So that's why I knew about it. But her role on Doctor Who earned her a nomination for Best Actress. So there you go, at the British Academy Scotland Awards. She was recently in the show The Flight Attendant. That's the dark comedy with Kaylee Cuoco, and was also nominated for that. And then was in the recent DC TV series Doom Patrol as Laura DeMille, but / Madame Rouge.
She always gets a slash.
Yeah, I'm like, that's good.
She's always a duplicitous lady.
I know, she does it so good.
She's a woman of many talents. She's so good. So what I will say about this show is I think this show has the best acting of every show we're going to watch on this podcast, including probably what we watch in the future.
Yeah, right.
Because the actors that are adult professional actors are so fucking good.
Yeah.
Kieran Shipka is so fucking good. Chance is so fucking good. All of the kids are so fucking good. Like, honestly, like, I mean, like, Ross Lynch is probably like you know what I mean? Like, and he had Disney experience. Like, there's no weak link. Does that make sense? Like, I'm like, you can't, and he's not playing the character bad. I just,
exactly. He's just playing the aw shucks. Like,
yeah, exactly. There's no bad acting on this show.
No. Like,
it's so, and they all commit. And I think, like, to make this show really succeed, like, you have to commit to, like, the ridiculousness of it. And I think easier to do with this than it is to do with a Riverdale, because like Riverdale is going to just get weirder and weirder and weirder over time. It's kind of like a gateway drug, and you just start to like slowly accept that like reality is going to get warped and like strange and uncomfortable.
That's like not what you signed on for.
No. Whereas with this, you come in knowing it's witches, and like they just were already all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like the way Miranda Otto will go like, oh, praise Satan.
Yeah, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
And also, I'm going to give props to you. Duplicitous is a great word.
Thank you.
I love duplicitous.
It's a good word. It's one of my faves.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on from this duplicitous woman over to our first of the Weird Sisters. So I didn't get a comics. The Business Insider article, like I mentioned, ran at they stopped at Miss Wardwell. So I'm like, I'm out of character. Their images there, but I do know that the Weird Sisters are in the comics. In the comics, they are a trio of witches who can foretell the future, and they predict that if humans and witches don't intermix, that it would lead to the extinction of witchery.
Oh, quite the opposite.
So quite different. But starting off with Prudence Night, Tati Gabrielle, first recurring role was in The 100 as a Gaia. So I was looking up right before we started. I'm like, I don't remember Gaia at all. We had stopped watching by this point. She was in season 4. I think we made it 3 seasons.
Yeah, I stopped. If you've seen The 100, I stopped when they got to the weird guy's like house that was underground.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I was looking up season 4. I'm like, did we watch it? I'm like, oh no, I'm remembering all this. And I remember the house and things, and I'm like, oh, this is after that. Okay, we did not finish
I don't even think I finished the season, like what that I was watching.
Yeah, we might not have.
I really enjoyed like the first 2 seasons. My other issue with that show is that they never gave you the ship you wanted.
Mm-mm.
They literally do, like, I'm pretty sure they kill off one of the characters instead of giving people the ship. Because I saw online, I had stopped watching the show years later, when one of the characters was killed off. I remember it like exploding maybe on like Twitter or something. And I was like, they didn't kill that character. I remember this character from the beginning. They didn't kill that character. And then I had to look it up and I was like, oh
shit, they did.
So we wouldn't be watching The 100 for this podcast, probably.
Probably not.
In desperate times, though. We'll see what happens.
For people that don't know, just a quick synopsis on the 100. It is post-apocalypse Earth. Everybody lives in space, and they send down people to start integrating onto Earth,
and
right?
to test if like Earth is as Earth is tested safe again.
Yeah.
So I assume it was like we blew it up with the atomic bomb, but I can't really remember.
We find out in season 3 what happened.
Oh,
because I saw it in the season 4 synopsis. I'm like, oh, okay.
I assume it was like, and
it has something to do with the house.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of that.
I don't either. But I wanted to at least not be cagey about it.
Yeah. No, that's fair. But then they send down this group of kids, basically. They're like, oh, we'll send down this group of like troubled 50 or 100 troubled children, basically troubled teenagers.
Yeah. Plus, I think Desmond they were Lost.
Yeah, they were like bad kids.
Yeah, and a couple adults.
And then like, except for like our main character, she was there because of like something else, right?
All right, with Clark.
Clark, yeah, she did some. I don't remember what she did to get there.
Yeah, but the 100 refers to how many people got sent down.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good time.
It was a really good time. There's like a couple really good plot lines too about like the people that might not have been taken up to space and like what they're doing and then what they want to do with the people that went to space. It's really interesting and kind of fun, but then it got too weird for me.
Yeah, and
I lost interest.
Yeah, there was just I think 7 seasons total. So
yeah, I fell off quickly, I guess.
Yeah, in the. But I mean, CW shows, it was probably still like 60 episodes in.
But if you loved The 100, we respect it because like I had a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I didn't really ever hear good things about like the big moves they made after we stopped watching.
No, nobody. You only ever saw angry reactions to that show.
Mm-hmm. There was an AV Club article I remember that like, yeah, that just ripped it to shreds. Anyways, back to Tati Gabrielle. So after this, after the CW voiced Addie in the Emoji Movie, which is her first major film role, is Marion Bellamy in the 3rd and 4th season of You.
Oh.
So she is like working.
Yeah.
Joe Braddock in the film adaptation of the Uncharted game. She's also in the current 2nd season of The Last of Us as Nora. So she's really working.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that she was like I saw her and I was like, oh my god.
You're like, that's her. So she's like really working with Naughty Dog because she's gonna voice a character. I'm assuming the main character in their upcoming video game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet.
Nice.
I mean, good work if you're gonna get it. I'm probably not gonna play it. I don't really like Naughty Dog. But anyways, she is doing lots of good work and apparently like really affiliated with Naughty Dog, but also is going to be Jade in the untitled sequel to the she's going to be in the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh.
As Jade. Which is, I don't know if Jade is I know she's a ninja, but I don't know if she's also like a demon.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's our world and then our world. I'm not good with Mortal Kombat lore. Anyway, doing lots of good things. Here we go. Our next weird sister. So I had a hard time finding just a singular photo of Dorcas. So Dorcas being on the left. And then we'll be getting into Agatha on the next one. So Abigail Cohen plays Dorcas Knight. Is apparently in Stranger Things Season 2 as Vicky Carmichael. Ask me anything about Stranger Things Season 2.
Is that the one with the Christmas lights?
No, that's the first one.
I thought that was the one where Will was taken. He's taken in the first one?
Yeah, and then he
Are
has
you
the unfortunate
sure?
Yes, and then he has the unfortunate bowl cut and he's just like seeing the other side in the second season.
Oh.
And he's like all because it's like, "Oh, is he actually seeing things or is he having PTSD? What's going on?"
Got it. Yeah, obviously I remember so much.
Yeah. But she was also played Bloom, the main character in the Fate the Winx Saga Netflix show,
Which I sat down. This was a good couple of years ago when it first, not when it first came out, but like sometime around that. I sat down one afternoon and I said, I just want something to watch on TV and I want something to binge. And I found that and I put it on and I watched the entire season in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next season came out, 2022. It was right when we got married, I think.
Oh yeah, maybe.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this, but I could not remember jack or shit. So I did not finish it.
So that is the big problem with the streaming era.
Yeah, I have the hardest time with streaming, like when it's this far apart, because like I literally could not tell you what happened in the first season of Euphoria. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Euphoria, like
A little
really
more memorable because it's really traumatizing.
Exactly. It really cemented some things in my brain.
I even had a hard time with like Game of Thrones because you'd like watch it for like, so many weeks straight and then all of a sudden it was gone for like a year and a half.
And you're like, only watched like 8 episodes.
Yeah, and you didn't get enough content in that time to like be like, oh, I've got like a lot going on in my... Like, I forget.
The big one that I'm surprised is still going, but I've now heard good things about every single time there's a new season is Wheel of Time. We watched that first season. We had a good time.
We just never picked it up again.
Yeah, because we don't remember anything. It took too long.
I do.
I
remember for some reason. I remember
really?
They were in I remember that first season ends and they're like in that foresty wood thing.
Yes, but I don't know like details.
Oh no, I don't have any details.
Okay, so that's what I'm talking about.
I usually don't know the plot, is what I'm saying. Like I usually pick up a show that hasn't been like when we started watching Severance again. I was like, I know he goes to work at a place called Lumen, and I knew everyone's name, and I was very excited about that because usually I forget the names too. Because like, there's a lot going on in here.
There's a lot going on out here. Yeah. And I remember in Wheel of Time, it's like there's the dragon that comes every year and you get reincarnated and which one of the kids is the dragon.
Yeah, that didn't stick.
Okay. All right. But back to Abigail Cohen. Made her film debut as Adrian with I Still Believe, which is a Christian romantic drama film starring KJ Apa, Britt Robertson.
No way!
And Shania Twain.
And it's a Christian film?
Yes, it is.
Good God.
So she's in 2 Christian films. I don't know anything about her personal life, if that's like an indicator or if she's just doing work. Fair enough. Because the next one, she was the co-star in Redeeming Love. It's an American Christian Western romance movie with Tom Lewis and Logan Marshall Green, a.k.a. the guy I always think is Tom Hardy, but is not Tom Hardy.
Vibes.
Yep. All right. And now we're on to our final weird sister, Agatha Knight, played by Adeline Rudolph. Began in modeling, and this is actually her first role, her first acting role. And then was also in the 2022 live-action Netflix adaptation of Resident Evil as Billy Wesker. I remember people just tore that to shreds. But was also in Hellboy: The Crooked Man, the recent movie, as Bobby Joe Song, and she's set to portray Katana in the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie.
Wow.
I know. So they're both going to be, other than Abigail Cohen, they're both going to be ninjas. Mm-hmm. Yep. So there you go. That is our cast for this week.
I do love the Weird Sisters. They're quite the vibe
yeah,
to me.
Me too. We'll be talking more about the Weird Sisters and things in this episode, but also in how they relate to other characters. So.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready? Let's get into the dark baptism.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. You already have this episode title for me? Don't need to say it. Faustus tells Sabrina about the unholy sacrament of the dark baptism. This is the fun play on words you get with the show.
They are so good at, whoever wrote the script is so good at plugging in the unholy, corrupt, they have so many good words they use to really hammer in that they're the inverse of the Catholic Church. And then we find out truly is Catholic Church inverse, because in the second episode we're going to talk about, they talk about how Sabrina's mom had her baptized in a Catholic church. And so I'm like, oh, so this is an obvious parallel.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which makes
literally calling out.
Yeah, which I think makes a lot of what we were saying in the first episode, really, I'm like, yeah, that's right. I mean, which we probably knew, we just forgot.
Well, that's true. But we also raised Catholic, so then it's even just seeing the slightest hint, it's like...
We're like, that's Catholic. That feels Catholic. I feel guilty.
Exactly.
There's shame.
And then the crust is upside down. Only Peter did that. That thing always... That detail always stood out to me.
That's so funny. That's not something I retained.
Yeah, that Peter got crucified upside down.
No, yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah, because he didn't want to be, he didn't want it to be on par with Jesus or something.
I didn't even remember that they crucified Peter.
Yeah, eventually they did.
Why'd they crucify Peter?
Probably for similar reasons as Jesus.
Oh.
Sabrina asks about the signing of the Book of the Beast and if it gives the Dark Lord her soul. And Father Blackwood is like, well, it's just a symbolic gesture.
And the devil equals free will.
Yes.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
That got me so good. Sign your name over. It equals free will.
Just do whatever.
That's like telling women that they're free when they get married.
Yeah.
It's so sometimes parents will do this to their kid. They're like, oh, well, when you're grown up and married, you can do whatever you want. And it's like, what do you mean? When I'm grown up and married.
Right.
When I'm grown up.
Mm-hmm. Wait until that second episode where that parallel is made starkly clear. Blackwood said, Sabrina says it doesn't allow him to call upon me, right? And then Blackwood's like, well, all religion requires some sacrifice. And he also says the Dark Lord isn't evil, but the embodiment of choice. She also won't go to hell because that's only for mortals. Witches are exempt. He also talks, but she's half witch, or half mortal. Uh-oh. He also talks about the incompatibility between mortals and humans. Sabrina asks about her parents, and Blackwood says her dad was the head priest of the church and received an exemption from the Dark Lord. She asks if her parents were killed in an accident, and he confirms that it was. She tells about
Was he the head priest or the high priest?
Oh, high priest. She tells him about the horrible future she saw from the Mal of Malice, and Blackwood says they usually give inaccurate visions. Anakin, don't worry. He talks about how great her father was and she should follow in his footsteps. He invites her to visit the Academy of Unseen Arts and give them a chance, and she'll be able to leave the church if she wants. Ambrose shows Blackwood the body of Connor, and he makes a point out to Sabrina how tragic his death was since he wasn't baptized. Ambrose asks about a witch hunter.
That's so Catholic coded.
Mm-hmm. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Ambrose asks about a witch hunter, and Faustus says, unlikely, and he'll speak to the council about this, but doesn't think there's any foul play. Before bed, Hilda says Blackwood was Sabrina's dad's mentor, but her dad surpassed him. Sabrina asks if Hilda had her doubts about the dark baptism, and she's like, I did, because, girls didn't have options back then. She's like, Sabrina, I have a dream of burning this whole forest down. Good night. And we see that Zelda watched them from the ceiling. The next day, Sabrina finds Harvey in the kitchen, and he came to ask if she wanted to celebrate her birthday the day after. And Sabrina's like, is that a good idea? And Hilda says yes, but Zelda's like, well, let's play it by ear. At the school, football chuds start talking shit about the Wicca Club flyer, rip it down, and then Susie gets pissed and calls them out, and she charges one of them, but they knock her down. Sabrina arrives at school and finds Roz taking Susie home because she got suspended, and Sabrina wants the names of the football players. Sabrina goes to Miss Wardwell and lists the names and wants them held accountable. Wardwell says next week they can talk to Principal Hawthorne, and then Sabrina wants things sorted in case she leaves the school next week, and Miss Wardwell says, well, you got to fight fire with hellfire and maybe enlist some other girls to come help you out. What does she say? Oh, she's like, you got to find the baddest bitches. It's so good. Sabrina makes a charm and calls on the Weird Sisters. They still want her to drop going to the academy. Sabrina wants to strike a deal to get them to help teach the football players a lesson and tells them she'll stay at Baxter High, but has her fingers crossed behind her back. Na. They agree to help if she does most of the work. Zelda finds Hilda out in the garden and bashes her head in with a hammer and buries her in the ground. A car drives up, and it's the parents of Connor. Ambrose shows them their son in his casket, and Ambrose asks if there's news about him dying, and the police apparently have no idea why he was out or what happened. He also kept to himself, really, and didn't have his friends, but his mom says he would talk to his iguana. The football players drink in a parking lot and talk shit about the girls at school. Suddenly, a wind picks up and the lights flicker. They see the Weird Sisters along with Sabrina, dressed exactly like them but in red.
I love this. I love when they put Sabrina with the Weird Sisters. I am like, these are my girls.
Mm-hmm. And they can say all they want, how much they don't want Sabrina around and all those things, but they had the costume ready to go.
They had an outfit for her. Mm-hmm. They had a little collar, a little lacy collar for her.
Mm-hmm.
They were ready.
They invite them to a party in the mines. Ooh, nothing better. Nothing gets me hotter than going to the mines. Literally.
It's like when you go, like, when there's a spooky house in town and they're like, okay, are you going to run up and touch the door? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this one is like, let's go crack beers together and hook up.
Yeah, because it's dark.
In the mines?
Yeah, the police aren't going to come find you.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know what I mean? It's better than hooking up in a car.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, Kevin's
hooking up in the woods.
But the mines.
I don't know. I honestly feel like a mine, like just not too far down, but like a little.
Now, Harvey got lost there for 5 hours and saw the devil.
He didn't get lost. Harvey didn't move.
He got lost. He couldn't find the entrance.
Oh, that's true. I just assumed he just stood still.
Dumb boy. They lead them to the mines. Sabrina says the theory that the mines lead straight to hell. The girls lead them into the tunnels, and music starts playing through the cave walls. And they're like, huh? But then they all start hooking up with each other, and we see that it was a spell, and the boys were just hooking up with each other. Sabrina takes photos of them and says the pictures will be all over school, and then the lead chud demands the photos back. Prudence says, you're not going anywhere, and Sabrina tries to get her to stop because she's worried that she's going to kill him. The lights then go out, and we see that the Weird Sisters appear as undead to them, and the boys run away screaming. Sabrina finds a cage with a bird in it, and the Weird Sisters apparently cast a spell, so the boys will all be impotent, and that's what the bird represents.
Well, but so when the Weird Sisters are doing their scary thing, Sabrina's also taking pictures of that.
Oh, right, yeah.
So she's still in on it. She pretended like she wasn't in on it, but she's still, it seems, at least enjoying it.
Right,
or
yeah,
in on
exactly.
it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah. The sisters tell Sabrina they knew she was lying to them, but enjoyed messing with the boys. They ask why Sabrina would leave mortals if she likes them so much. Sabrina's like, well, I don't think I really have a choice. And Father Blackwood visited me, and they all wonder why he visited her. Sabrina wants freedom and not to be confined by signing the book, and they say she gets power in exchange for her freedom, and he wouldn't want witches to have both power and freedom.
Sabrina's like, I want freedom and power, and Prudence says the Dark Lord would never give it to him because he's a man, basically.
Yeah.
And because he's a man, I think, is the most important part, because it's so evident, we'll get into this after, that Prudence is so aware of exactly how her religion and the world she lives in works.
Sabrina visits Harvey, and Sabrina talks about her situation in abstract as a comic book example. It's like, what if you were like a superhero, but to get your powers, you had to leave everybody that you loved? And Harvey's like, well, I wouldn't take the powers if I lost you. Oh. Hilda rises from...
I mean, anyone I dated in high school, I would easily sacrifice for magic. Romantically.
Yeah. You know.
Not like blood sacrifice.
You're like, some of them,
A
not all.
couple of them. I'm just saying. No.
Hilda rises from the grave and walks back to the house. Zelda says each slaying takes you longer to come back and tells her to stop filling Sabrina with other ideas other than joining the search of night. And we see Sabrina overheard them. It's Sabrina's birthday. Hilda preps Sabrina's mom's wedding dress for Sabrina's dark baptism. Hilda tells her she has nothing to be afraid of and the ants are there to help her. Zelda called Baxter High, apparently, and told him that she won't be coming in today because she has hives. And Sabrina's pissed because she hasn't said goodbye to her friends. And Zelda's like, well, write them. And then Ambrose is supposed to keep an eye on her that day. Miss Wardwell interrupts the assistant principal to ask where Sabrina is and hears she's homesick. Sabrina asks Ambrose if she'll still be able to see her mortal friends on weekends, and Ambrose tells her it's discouraged to have meaningful relationships with mortals. Sabrina asks what'll happen if she does, and Ambrose says it's like a veil drops between you and the mortal world, and your long life will make mortal things seem trivial. Sabrina leaves to call Harvey. Zelda and Hilda go to pick up a black sheep named Black Narcissus. We'll come back around on my notes on that in a sec. There's more background details. Harvey comes to pick up Sabrina dressed in a miner's costume, and then Ambrose goes, "Oh, you dressed as your future."
Ambrose is amazing in these scenes.
Sabrina comes down in the wedding dress, and Ambrose tells her to be on time tonight. They head off for the party at Rosalind's and find Susie as well. They dance, have cake, and have a good time. During a slow dance, Sabrina asks Harvey to not hate or forget her. Roz calls everyone to the backyard to see the blood moon start taking over, and Sabrina's like, I'm late, and then tells Harvey she'll always loves him, kisses him, and runs off. I was surprised at how big of a party this was. I'm like, oh, look at all these people here. Because just at school, it's just like the four of them. But it's like, oh no, they've got a big friend group.
Yeah, and they got all the Wicca people that they invite and stuff,
right. Yeah. Sabrina runs into the woods to the baptism through some creepy tree branch cave with upside-down crosses and other symbols I don't know made from branches. As she arrives, her white dress turns black in an okay CG effect. She finds a full gathering of randoms and with blurry lenses, what looks like shirtless Sebastian Stan in the back. The ritual starts. We see Miss Wardwell watching from the trees. Sabrina goes to sign the book, and as Father Blackwood cuts her hand, she gets a vision of the witches hanging again. Father Blackwood states that she has to follow all orders from the Dark Lord or anyone superior who serves him, and she realizes he lied to her. She pulls away and says she can't do this and sees a vision of her mom and dad who tell her to run. She apologizes to her aunts and runs away. Father Blackwood tells people to go after her. Oh yeah, and I have mentioned, speaking of Catholic things, she gets blood smeared on her forehead instead of like ash.
It's a very deep cut for a small signature.
Very much so. Sabrina runs and gets tangled by the trees in what is scarily reminiscent to the start of Evil Dead, but she escapes. Phew. And runs home. As she finds Ambrose outside, he points behind her to the entire baptism party following after her. Sabrina refuses to sign the book and says there's a third way for her, and she will not sign her name away. Father Blackwood and the Weird Sisters go together, but Ambrose yells at them that there's a protection surrounding the house and only Spellman's may cross it. Blackwood and the sisters back off. Sabrina asks Ambrose when he did that, and he's like, it's just a bluff.
He's like, I guess I better go get to work.
Wardwell kneels in front of the fire and begs forgiveness for failing the Dark Lord. The Dark Beast comes in and she thanks him and says she's not worthy of his love and kisses his hooves. She tells him he will have the girl. The next day, things are awkward at the Spellman house. Zelda is mad that she disgraced the family in front of the entire coven. Sabrina says Blackwood lied. Zelda says she went against her father's wishes, and Sabrina says, I don't think that's true, and she saw her parents in the woods and they wanted her to run. Sabrina goes to school for the first meeting of Wicca. Wardwell attends as well and tells Sabrina she wants to work closely with her. Sabrina gets called into Principal Hawthorne's office, and she finds Harvey in the hall, and they kiss. In the principal's office, he starts to talk about the club when time stops, and she sees the principal foaming at the mouth and realizes that the Dark Lord has taken him over and is talking to her. He tells her that she will sign the book, and she won't defeat him because she's mortal, and all mortal flesh must burn. The end.
So this showed us a lot of things really well, but one of the things early in this episode that got me was, and maybe I've just been saying it wrong, but Blackwood said Samhain instead of Samhain.
Oh.
And it just yanked me out of what I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Samhain. And then I was like, am I wrong? Are there multiple pronunciations? But I'm positive it's Samhain.
Yeah.
I'm positive you don't say the M's. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
Let's see what Google says.
Okay.
Samhain.
Cool. But I just thought it was funny because I was like, you'd think someone would have caught that.
Right. They were just like, do we want to reshoot this? No.
I was wondering if like they just didn't know. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's fair.
As the show goes on, they play with a lot of different types of magic, and I remember there's certain magic they do really well, and other magic that I'm like, I'm intrigued to see how it comes across.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on who knows what and what their beliefs are, and also so much of magic is personal and subjective. There's lots of ways to view it.
There's one specific character that I'm curious how we'll feel about their magic.
Yes, agreed. I remember thinking, I was like, I think it's done well, but like, I'm not certain.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I remember it being like, there's a line.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Father Blackwood is very against there being a witch hunter in our midst. He's like, no. That man was just alone. And so that's why he was killed. And I'm like, bro.
What's going on here? Because it seemed, I'm going to theorize because I don't remember what the backstory is with Connor, but it definitely seems like it has something to do with the church.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did Connor do?
Mm-hmm.
Or what did he stumble upon?
Or did Connor not want to be part of the church?
That's true, and isn't as important as Sabrina.
Exactly. So I did want to talk about Blackwood lies to her. He says that the religion is about free will and all of that, and then she will, maintain that. And she just has to sometimes like follow along or whatever. And then at the baptism,
well, that's also a twist on Catholicism because God gave us free will.
Mm-hmm. And then at the baptism, he's like, not only do you have to follow the Dark Lord, but anyone superior to you who follows him.
Oh, you don't have to follow him, asterisks, including me.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, this spineless motherfucker. Like, that's what I would have said. Yeah. I would have been like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Oh, I got to follow you?
You? Mm-hmm. Bro.
Mm-hmm.
That would not have worked for me.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I 100% understand Sabrina. And you know who else 100% understands Sabrina?
Hilda.
And?
Ambrose.
And? Prudence.
Prudence, yeah.
Prudence gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was getting at earlier. Prudence's take on men and how men view power and how men view women with power. You notice this is all about a coven. It's the witches. It's all of this. And yet who is in charge?
Mm-hmm.
Father Blackwood. And who was in charge before that? Presumably Sabrina's father. Why are men in charge of this belief system?
Right.
And are women allowed to be in charge of this belief system?
Doesn't seem that way because the Dark Lord is the one who's in charge. And which is,
and
everybody says him, male. So.
And the men decide what the Dark Lord is saying when the Dark Lord isn't directly speaking to them. Like, we don't know if Father Blackwood ever actually converses with the Dark Lord.
Mm-hmm.
We never see it.
No.
We don't know.
Yeah, I would think that the second episode really hints on that because both him and Miss Wardwell are like in cahoots, but seem to be like answering, not really in cahoots, I should say, trying to complete the same mission and seems to have been dictated by.
Yeah, but I think he wants Sabrina. I think that's correct. I don't think I don't think he's lying about that. But I think that Blackwood, is he always telling the truth when he's like, oh, this is the Dark Lord's will? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, and he can use that. And I'm like, men are trash.
Yeah. And again, a Catholicism thing of I'm the high priest. I speak to I speak to God.
Mm-hmm. You must tell me, you must apologize to me, you must confess your sins to me.
Right. And then God will, provide back to you. Or I will filter through what God says back.
The other thing I really love is Ambrose in this episode because he's like, I got your back. I'll let you get out with your boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Also, like, I get it. And so we know that Ambrose also seemingly had some sort of connection with a mortal because it's very obvious that he had to lose someone to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. His like talking about the veil dropping. It's probably
personal because you don't come up with a metaphor like that unless you've lost something. You know what I mean?
Right. Then he's like, oh, things changed for me when I went through my baptism. Mm-hmm. Oh, but going back to Prudence, in relation there, she understands what she's in, but she's like fully like, yeah, this is like
This is where I am, so this is how I'm going to do what I have to do in the place that I'm at because this is my situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's very practical and pragmatic, and it makes sense for her character.
Absolutely.
And we'll learn more about her character later, and like there's more to that really like solidifies that for me. The other thing that I really love is we get the first time Zelda kills Hilda and puts her in the pit. That pit gets a name. I can't remember what it is. Like there's specific dirt. It's a specific spot, and like you can kill someone, plant them there, and they come back. Presumably witches, because they don't die the way that mortals die.
Right, because they wouldn't go to, hell or heaven, I guess. Yeah, I can't remember how the details of that work.
But my favorite thing about this episode is Sabrina being like, well, I want freedom and power. And I'm like, me too. I would also like freedom and power.
I don't want to have to sign my soul away.
I want freedom and power. And men don't like that.
No.
Men don't like when women have that.
Right. It's threatening.
And I love that Sabrina has obviously been raised in a house where her voice and opinion matters. And she's been raised in this house that is ran by powerful women. And even if Zelda is like, oh, fall in line, like Zelda is not actually falling. You know what I mean? Like she's just as rebellious. It's just that she's got her own approach to it.
Yeah.
And she wants to protect Sabrina. And we learn more of why she is this way about this particular thing in the next episode. But I think that because Sabrina is raised in this house where her voice matters, she then believes that her voice matters externally. And it really highlights, like, ironically, like how good of a job they did raising her. And also how important it is for girls and women to be told that their voices matter and to be not only told that, but then treated in that way.
Right.
Like it is obvious that Hilda treats her that way. It is obvious that Ambrose treats her that way. She said no, Ambrose backs her up.
Yeah.
And
he comes out and he's like, I'm going to help you.
Yeah, he helps her. And so that's an active choice he makes to say, I support you without, saying just like, I support you. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's interesting that as I think speaking to even the rebelliousness of Zelda, even though she's very much devout, all about the church and like there's certain ways things must be done, Sabrina still went to a mortal school. She still has like this life with mortals. So, there are some things where Zelda, as rigid as she is with her rules, can be bent a little.
She was flexible for it, and it's for Sabrina.
Exactly.
And Hilda, because Hilda was the one I think who wanted to send her to mortal school, because I think Hilda is the one who's kind of pushed in that direction.
Right, as we learn more in the next one. And then, except Zelda, also on the other hand, will put a hammer down on Hilda.
Oh, yeah.
If she's messing things up.
She wants to have control. And if her ducks aren't in a row, she's going to get rid of one of her ducks.
Right. And I think, in this, we get fun where the Weird Sisters and Sabrina get to harass some shitty boys. Yes,
I love that. I think that more women should harass shitty boys. Or shitty men. Let me rephrase. I don't think women should harass boys. I think women should harass men. I think girls should harass boys. And I think that it's important. I think that getting that, it's not necessarily like just like a revenge plot line, and they take their manhood, meaning that they just can't get it up until like the bird's released. And I think that's amazing. I think that's hilarious. I think that is like the exact kind of like petty revenge for this type of character that like makes sense without crossing a line. I think it's so good.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, flaccid dicks. That's your problem now.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do anything.
Exactly. And
until I decide.
And it relates all back around of when we're introduced to the guys that are like, just slut shaming, like every kind of like shitty quote unquote locker room talk that you can imagine. So, hey, you don't get to like harass women and get to do these stories.
Oh, harass women, I guess, but you still got a flaccid dick.
Exactly. The very horror movie construction of like, ooh, these people all suck. Let's see what happens to them. There's one other thing. Oh, and that I think that highlights also. Well, I'll talk about that in the next episode, actually.
The other thing I appreciate about it too is like these are teenagers on teenagers. Like there's no level of like weird age gap, inappropriateness, problematic shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very teenager on teenager, and it's how a teenager would respond. And I think that's good. I think this show does that pretty well for the most part.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like weird age gap relationships, if any. I don't think there's any.
No, I literally think there's none. I mean, other than like, Ambrose is supposed to be like 80 or whatever, however old he is.
Yeah, but we don't know how old the
Lucas.
Lucas is. Like he's a fully adult warlock, we presume.
Yeah, it's the that's one of those things of like, well, you play the fuzzy math in it because it's the fiction thing. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
he's,
okay,
for all intents and purposes, a young adult.
They're adults and they're consenting versus like the children.
Yeah, totally. The one thing I did want to mention, because they mentioned Black Narcissus, so I was like, is this actually a reference to the movie? I don't think it is. Okay. I think it's just, I don't think it's like any more than just being like, oh, a reference to the movie. But I wanted to at least call it the background on that, which is it's a 1947 movie, like very well known for like how amazing it looks. Like just this like gorgeous drop dead gorgeous movie. But it's about like a small convent of nuns that are trying to establish like a school and a hospital in the isolated mountains in the Himalayas. And it's like them trying to have like adjust to like antagonistic population. And then there's this like British agent who comes in who's like attractive and the source of temptation for the sisters. So it's like all, this like faith and things like that. And the look of it actually inspired lots of things, but I thought was really funny. I pulled out was the Frozen art director was like, oh, we were greatly influenced by that.
That's so funny.
So yeah. And then when it was being brought to the States, it was condemned by the Catholic National League of Legion of Decency. It was an affront to religion and religious life, and an escape for the abnormal, the neurotic, and the frustrated. And it had to be cut down a bunch because the only bookings it could get while it was condemned, quote unquote, were New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. So yeah. So I don't really know if it has anything to do with the goat, but maybe they sacrificed a goat in that movie.
Maybe.
I do want to watch it at some point.
Add it to the list.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for this one. Chapter 3, The Trial of Sabrina Spellman. So I did want to call out for Daniel Webster. We think that this is a reference to The Devil and Daniel Webster, a 1941 film based on the 1938 play, which is based on the 1936 short story, The Devil and Daniel Webster.
And Daniel Webster was just like a famous lawyer.
That makes sense.
Like political. I think he was also in the House at a different point. I think he was a Whig, and then he was a Republican, and then he was but you have to remember this. I don't remember if this is before or after the party swap, because I, to be honest, didn't look at the dates. And then and then he was something else.
Okay.
I don't remember. I looked at this morning and it's already gone. Mm-hmm. I do apologize.
But if Whigs give you any hint, he was in the 1800s, right?
I think so.
But in the movie, a farmer sells his soul for good luck and prosperity, but becomes desperate when the time of his pact is about to end and asks the lawyer, Daniel Webster, to help him find a way out of the pact's terms. So there you go. Seems pretty in sync with what we see in the episode. So I'll just keep going while you... Yeah,
when did he die? That's what I was looking for. He died in 1852. So okay. Just, just for vibes. But yeah, he was I just thought that was really interesting. He was I think he died as a Whig. I think he was a Federalist before 1825.
Gotcha.
Then he was a National Republican from 1825 to 1833, and then a Whig.
Damn. Okay. Are you looking up Whig Party and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Because I do not remember.
It was like instead of Democrats and Republicans, we had the Democrats and the Whigs, basically.
Okay.
I think so.
And then did they come from some of the parties that you mentioned there?
Whig presidents were William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, Zachary Taylor, and Millard Fillmore.
President
John Quincy Adams was also a Whig, but the formation of the Whig Party was after his presidency.
Interesting. They
The
just
Whig
retroactively.
base was mostly entrepreneurs, professionals, Protestant Christians, particularly evangelicals, the urban middle class, and nativists. It had much less backing from poor farmers and unskilled workers. That's how we feel about that. But,
all right. Do with that what you will.
Exactly.
Sabrina runs out of the principal's office and throws up in the bathroom. Wardwell surprises her and asks if Principal Hawthorne said something to her. Sabrina's like, it's okay, I just got lightheaded, and runs out. Ambrose finds an iguana sitting on Connor's casket. He asks the ants if he can get the familiar to talk, he can find out how Connor died. Zelda wants to kill it, but he keeps the iguana for himself. Sabrina has flashbacks to being visited by the devil, and she's with her friends, and Roz is pissed that The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison is banned at the school. Susie wants to use Wicca to take the fight to Hawthorne. Hawthorne insists that they don't ban schools at Baxter, and Sabrina stays by the door, and all freaked out by him. And he's like, there's graphic passages in that book that are not suitable for public school and impressionable use. Roz storms into the library and gets everyone to pull books from the library. They look up the cards where they can find the books, but don't find a single one on the shelves. And the librarian's like, well, just between you and me, a few years ago, there was a soft purge on bad books. Sabrina comes home and finds she has an infernal summons for breach of promise with the Dark Lord. Sabrina says the Dark Lord visited her at school and threatened her, and she refuses to stand trial. Zelda says her and Hilda have also been summoned too because they're her guardians. Witch Law says you're guilty until proven innocent. Great.
Vibes.
Hilda and Zelda have been stripped of their powers and will age until it's finished. Sabrina talks to Ambrose alone, wondering how to fight it. He mentions a man named Daniel Webster, who's a lawyer/cultist and also immortal, who beat the devil before, and he lives here in Greendale. What a coincidence. Zelda visits Father Blackwood as he'll be the prosecutor. She wants to settle this outside of court. And Blackwood's like, well, if Sabrina comes, admits all her wrongdoing, begs forgiveness, and signs her name over, we're good. Zelda leaves and Miss Wardwell enters. She tells him that Sabrina is her charge and can't risk her fate in his hands. She blames him for not getting her signature when she delivered Sabrina, and Blackwood's like, well, you messed up and used your womanly ways, but I'll get it done. And Miss Wardwell says, don't disrespect me because I feast on male flesh.
Isn't that also she tells him he's got the subtlety of a hammer, basically?
I think that's later.
Okay.
Because she talks about how to convince them. Mm-hmm. Sabrina visits Daniel Webster and asks for his help. He asks if she's born again, and that's why she didn't sign. He tells her he doesn't practice anymore, and Sabrina leaves defeated. We see him later looking at a picture of a young girl on his wall and seemingly decides to help. We meet Harvey's brother Tommy, and he compliments Harvey's drawings. His dad comes in and is an absolute asshole about Harvey drawing and wants Harvey to go to work with him down in the mines. Papa Kinkle is kind of like the evil Fred Andrews. Spellmans arrive at the Church of Night for their trial. Blackwood opens the proceedings with some ghoulish-looking creatures wearing black acting as judges. If Sabrina is guilty, she'll burn in hell for 333 years in the pit. Daniel Webster shows up, causing quite a stir, and he's taking Sabrina's case. Outside the church, the Spellmans and Webster have a conference. Zelda says she remembers Webster sniffing around Edward years ago. Edward taught Webster witch law years ago, and he wants to return the favor. Blackwood makes the case that she was going to consummate with the Dark Lord and broke her promise. And even talks about weren't you wearing a wedding dress? It's pretty similar. This broken promise goes back to brides running out, grooms running out on their brides or something.
Your breach of promise is predominantly used, according to this narrative, on grooms who abandon their brides at the altar, because it's they promised they were going to marry them and didn't.
Right. And it's weren't you doing that, Sabrina, coming in here in a wedding dress and all these things?
Yeah. It's what is this if not a wedding to the Dark Lord, and you are violating that promise.
Mm-hmm. Webster pokes all sorts of holes in the argument. No contract, no groom, no promise, no evidence. Blackwood submits the Book of the Beast as evidence, and it has Sabrina's signature in it. And Sabrina's like, wait, this was 3 days after I was born. And Blackwood calls Zelda to the stand, and Zelda's like, well, I accompanied your father in the wood that day, and he signed your name in the book.
That doesn't seem like it should be legally binding.
No, but I did have a question about this trial. Do you think they teach this in witch law school, like My Cousin Vinny?
Oh.
Do you think it's accurate?
I don't know. We've never been to witch law school.
No, I haven't been to mortal law school either.
No.
Back at home.
Not on my list of things to do.
No.
I think it's an important job. It's not mine.
No, thank you. It's a lot of reading boring documents. Back at home.
I mean, I don't think they're boring. I think it's a lot of having to learn how to follow case law. But I mean, why? At this point, we're not following it anyway.
That's true.
Just give up, everybody.
Positive vibes here. Back at home, Sabrina yells at Zelda, and Zelda wanted her to sign willingly. Zelda said a bargain was struck so your dad could marry your mother, and he had to sign your name in the book. Daniel Webster is back at home, and he's visited by an apparition of his daughter who asks why she didn't help him or help her. And we see that her throat is slit, and we get the idea that she's in hell. We see that the apparition was the demon Miss Wardwell. Sabrina and Harvey walk through the woods the next day. Harvey tells her he has to start working in the mines. When Harvey was little, he was playing hide and seek with his brother and his buddies and went to hide in the mines and got lost for an hour. And then he saw the devil. And then Tommy found him 5 hours later. Horrifying.
The child does not yearn for the mines.
No, but the greatest scene and part of this scene that made me laugh was Sabrina going, but you hate the mines.
Yeah, he's like, my dad wants me to work in the mines, and she's like, but you hate the mines, and it's like,
do people just love the mines?
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, the children yearn for the mines.
Exactly right. At school, Wardwell says the ladies of Wicca are making their voices heard. Roz is passing out lists of banned books and yelling about it in the hall. Hawthorne stops them in the hallway and is like, okay, you win. You called the PTA and the school board, and they're going to review the bluest eye for inclusion. Ambrose attends to Connor's funeral and notices a boy standing off in the corner. He asks about Connor, and the boy, Luke, dated Connor and mentions the iguana. Ambrose is like, well, I've got the iguana in my room right now if you want to come take a look. And Luke's like, well, maybe another time.
Imagine if he didn't think he actually had the iguana. And he was like,
wait, I thought you said there was an iguana up here. What did you think was going to happen? Miss Wardwell.
Me going to a frat house just to play with the snake.
Oh, okay.
Literally.
Miss Wardwell.
No, I'm literally here for the snake.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. It's right down the hall. Miss Wardwell preps the spell, and Sabrina finds her classroom frozen in time. She sees Daniel Webster's daughter in the hallway. She doesn't obviously know who she is, but goes to follow the girl and follows her into the library. Sabrina finds a stack of newspaper clippings on a desk, and they're all related to Daniel Webster, who seems to have saved multiple criminals, like really bad criminals, like murderers and rapists, from going to jail. Sabrina then goes to confront him for his past and fires him, and he's like, I made a deal with the devil a long time ago to be the best lawyer in the world, but I only got the most depraved cases. He set a man free who broke into his home and attacked and killed his daughter, and, they leave it vague, but we get the idea that it was pretty rough. Mm-hmm. And Webster thinks that he can save her. Sabrina. Back at trial, it's Webster's turn to interview the witnesses, and he argues that since Sabrina's half mortal, she needs a jury of mortals. And then everybody starts shouting, and the ghouls in the back go, disorder in the court. Mm-hmm. Sabrina hears knocking and finds Ambrose hears knocking and finds Luke appear in his room. Turns out he's a warlock also, so then they immediately start hooking up.
Kiss, kiss, smooch, smooch. I mean, when you find a like-minded individual and you are not allowed to leave your home and they're in your home.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh.
I respect Ambrose. Mm-hmm. I get it.
The iguana's here unless...
Yeah, and then the iguana dies.
Yeah, it looks really nasty.
It's like the beast inside of it trying to come out. What are they? They're
familiar
gremlins.
Oh yeah. I think they said goblins.
Goblin. Can't remember.
Blackwood says, "Okay, then Webster, Sabrina will be given a trial by water. If she floats, she's a witch, and if she's drowned, she's a human. Or she'll be. If she's drowned, she's a human." I'm assuming this is like a old witch folklore thing, and this is where the Monty Python bit is pulling from.
That's what they did during the witch trials.
That's what they actually did?
I think so.
Okay.
I wasn't there. I'm going to be so for real. I'm not certain. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Like, that's like the narrative. Gotcha. Have you never heard that before besides Monty Python?
No.
So you know how like it's like, oh, like girlies have like a Tudor phase or a Romanov phase, or like, like all kids have like an Egyptian phase, whatever. My phase was witches.
Got it. I'll keep going while you look that up. Or she can also be instead stripped and search for a witch's mark, and if she doesn't have one, she'll be deemed immortal. Later, Daniel Webster asks, it's like, hey, do you actually have the mark? Blackwood appears at the house and is like, the Dark Lord has offered a path. He'll waive the punishment to the pit and provide yearly visitation to your mortal friends once a year if she signs her name and attends the Academy of Unseen Arts immediately. He's like, oh, I'll hear your answer tomorrow, and leaves. And Daniel Webster's like, don't take the deal. If the Dark Lord is trying to strike a deal, it's because it's a trick. And we have some leverage. Ambrose wakes up and finds Luke gone, but finds Luke's number etched in the wood above his bed. And then Ambrose notices that the iguana is now dead, and Ambrose thinks that the iguana and familiar couldn't live without Connor. Harvey and Sabrina are in the woods again. She asks him to search for a birthmark because she couldn't find one, and asks him to take a look. He's excited but confused, aka the teenage boy experience. He also strips and says fair is fair, and he doesn't find anything up top, but they start kissing anyway. Sabrina comes home. Sabrina goes to school. Roz says the PTA is going to make them wait 3 months to present their case on the bluest eye. And Susie and Sabrina are like, well, to hell with them. If they make us wait 3 months, that's all right. We'll bring it to them then. And Roz breaks down and starts crying because even though, like her dad says, who seems to be very devout, offers her to pray, in 3 months or less, Roz will go completely blind. Miss Wardwell overhears from across the library. Harvey and Tommy go to work together at the mine, and Harvey is too freaked out to go, and Tommy's like, hey, it's okay. Just try another day and head home. Sabrina tells the auntie she'll submit to the exam because she doesn't have a witch's mark. Daniel Webster says after they don't find a mark, she'll get a trial, moved to immortal court. Sabrina says lots of people are fighting battles. They know they aren't going to win, and this is mine. Ha! The episode thesis.
Both witches' marks and drownings and a bunch of other things were used in different witch trials, all over the world. But they're all things, yeah. I was like, I think these are all real. There's like so many more too.
Oh, that's great. That they used it in the show.
Yeah. The connection.
Not the trumped up charges they would use to kill women.
Yes, exactly.
Hilda heads upstairs and says, don't wait for me, I'll see you at court. She looks in her trunk and casts a spell over it, and turns out it's all of Sabrina's baby things. What could this be? Papa Kinkle comes home and yells at Harvey for not working in the nines.
Papa Kinkle?
Papa Kinkle.
And the nines?
Mines. Dressed to the nines. Tommy runs in to break them up, and Tommy tells him that Harvey's done and he's not going to waste his life. It's court time. Sabrina submits to searching for the witch's mark. Hilda runs in and is like, wait, stop, and hands something to Daniel Webster, who calls her to the stand. The ghouls ask Hilda to approach. Hilda brought the baptismal certificate for one Sabrina, and she is one of the witnesses, along with her mother, Diana, and she was baptized in a Christian church. Christian church. And it was one day before Edward inscribed Sabrina's name in the Book of the Beast, which makes the Dark Lord's claim null and void. Blackwood is furious, and Sabrina says the Dark Lord's behavior is outrageous. And suddenly a door opens up in the floor, and Webster realizes that he has been summoned to the Dark Lord's private chambers along with Blackwood, and they descend the stairs together. And then the doors close. Zelda is pissed at Hilda, and Sabrina wonders why her dad didn't know that her mom baptized her in secret. She calls them both deceivers, and Zelda tells her to honor thy mother and father. Ha! Catholic. Sabrina tells them no more lies about her parents. Back in court, Blackwood says that Sabrina shall retain her mortal life on the condition that she also attends the Academy of Unseen Arts and attends weekly Black Mass. No more holiday Catholic for you.
It's not a Christmas and Easter.
Webster calls it dual citizenship. Sabrina happily accepts, and Zelda and Hilda receive their powers back and are young again.
Them getting older throughout this episode is the funniest fucking part.
It's like really them good.
And they get the headscarves and the sunglasses, and the hair starts to come out, and like the tooth. It's just so fucking funny.
When Zelda goes to visit Blackwood and is like, is there anything we can do to like settle this out of court? And he like brushes her hair, and then a big lock comes out, and she's like, well, I'll see you later.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good. After court, Sabrina invites Webster to come over to celebrate, and he's like, another time, and she thanks him. He tells her to learn everything about her adversary, to fight for what's hers, and that she might be the first person to beat the devil. Later, Zelda got a call from Father Blackwood and tells Hilda she's been excommunicated from the Church of Night for taking part in the Catholic baptism. Hilda is understandably upset. Blackwood is visited by Demon Wardwell, upset with how things shook out. He says now that Sabrina is under his watch, he'll break her like a hammer. And Wardwell's like, is it always brute force with you men? Real corruption is a thin, subtle blade, and she'll tear Sabrina away from her mortal friends. We then cut to Roz, who stares into the bathroom mirror and sees her eyes turn black. Sabrina brings her into the library, though, after the blackness fades, and they find a box of the bluest eye. Wardwell announces, welcome to the new Banned Book Club. We're going to read this and then on to the romantasy.
Brenton's pulling out ACOTAR for the high school book club.
Exactly.
I don't think the school board's going to like that.
No. Velvet Wrap Steals. I know that's not ACOTAR.
That's not ACOTAR, but yeah. Once again, I support Wardwell in this book club. I support how Wardwell works. I think that's what I talk about first. Wardwell versus Blackwood approaches. Mm-hmm. This show, obviously, we're going to bring this up a lot, is really highlighting how men are awful at everything. Yes. Like, the only good man, really, we have on the show is Ambrose and then Harvey. Mm-hmm. And it seems like Harvey's brother, Tommy.
Tommy, yeah.
But, so, we get Tommy, man who's stuck in career he didn't want, who's just trying to, like, save his brother from the same fate. It seems like, and has like no other option. He's like, well, like Harvey's talented, we can get him out of here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We have Harvey, who's just like here for the ride. And boy has no idea what's going on, and that's beautiful for him. I'm jealous.
And he is traumatized.
Oh, he's absolutely traumatized.
He did see the devil at a very young age, and if I saw the devil now, I would freak out.
Yeah, that's not really my vibe. Don't really want to see that. And then we have Ambrose, who is trapped.
Yeah.
I think this show does a really good job with like how men in power are awful and they suck.
The other thing I hadn't thought about too is that we usually think of witches as a matriarchy.
Mm-hmm. But they have men running this. That's kind of what I was playing with in the last episode. It's like that, but it's a group of witches, and there's so many more witches that we've seen. Yeah. So why are men in charge? Mm-hmm. Why are men in charge? Sabrina's household is a matriarchy.
Right.
But I think it's just really interesting. I really love the Wardwell playing with the like he calls her a demoness, and she's like, you're a warlock, but also like, I eat warlocks.
Exactly.
I eat men.
You have flesh. You're immortal.
I eat boys like you.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think that's great. That's one of my favorite things. I love Wardwell. 10 out of 10.
She's the best.
She's
Every
the
single
best.
scene, you're like, yes.
You root for her in a weird way.
Yes, you do. You're like, okay, like,
you're like,
maybe don't actually succeed in like delivering Sabrina, but like everything else is like.
Or I mean, like, can she do both?
Right.
Can Sabrina have it all?
Uh-huh. But the main conflict of the show.
Another thing I really like about this episode is book bans. We talk about book bans. I think book bans are a super important topic, and we should all be talking about it because they keep banning books. And by they, you know who I'm talking about.
So during this time of, obviously it's accelerated a lot in the last 7 years, but there was a specific term that they would use for essentially like, books written by women or books telling things about like racial history and telling like different stories from different cultural backgrounds and things. What was that called? And they would specifically say like in schools, it's like race something. Critical race theory. Oh
yeah, that didn't pick up the way DEI has, and that's why I think they had they're like the CRT, and I'm like,
the only CRT I recognize are the old TVs. But that's what I was saying, because I was like, what was the context that this was actually pulling from at the time? Because now it's DI and it's changed. But I'm like, what was the other stupid like right-wing term?
Yeah, exactly. How they co-opted an acronym to mean something that it didn't.
Yeah, because honestly, it's just like
we should be critically learning about race.
At 2018, I'm like, yeah, I was a child left behind on these.
Also, The Bluest Eye is like one of those books that's been on banned book lists off and on since like 1999. So like it's a really good poll.
Yeah, okay.
And it has
also I don't know if it's Roberto, but someone across this and Riverdale is a really big Toni Morrison fan.
Yes, because that's Betty's favorite author. Uh-huh.
Hey, and I read Song of Solomon, and I think that's my favorite book ever, and I need to read Bluest Eye, and I have Kindred on my bookshelf, and I've not read it. I need to read it. So then she became my favorite author. I just need to read more than one work.
Just to be certain.
Totally.
That's fair. That's fair. I think the other thing I really appreciate about this is that the librarian goes, yeah, it was a soft purge of bad books. So it's not we're banning all these books. It's we're going to slowly remove them. And I think that's one of the biggest threats. I mean, right now we have a head-on assault, but it's almost not easier, but like, what they're doing in a head-on assault. But this subtle removal of books that talk about other people's experiences is like how we got to here. Because they were able to create pathways that you only read books written by white men or, maybe some white women, but nothing that really pushed the limits.
Right. Because as the example of this one, is they don't know that these books aren't there until they literally go and look for them. They have their library, like the library card, whatever they're called in the libraries, where it's like, here's your card, and then you go find where the book is. That they're all still there, but the books are gone.
The card catalog.
Thank you. Yep, card catalog.
Yes, because this show is using technology that we don't use anymore.
No. Yeah, when did I ever use a card catalog? Maybe when I was little.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point it was like you were on the computers.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's really important. And the PTA being like, oh yeah, we'll have a town hall about it in 3 months is just so on brand.
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, that's a great idea down the road.
Another thing I want to talk about is that...
Oh, sorry. Just a real quick cap on that. Yeah, that the bureaucracy is not built to be able to save these types of things.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Harvey and Sabrina are both being haunted by the devil. And I think that's like a really interesting concept for this episode. Yeah. That Harvey has been haunted his whole life, and so has Sabrina, without knowing it really, but kind of, by the devil. That the devil has been watching both of them. And
I think with Harvey, I don't know, you could maybe make the connection because everybody's like, hey, your drawings are really cool, but they're kind of fucked up. Mm-hmm. They just maybe like him seeing like the other side of the veil. Right? Am I using the term there right?
Yeah, I mean, it can be.
Seeing the other world, essentially, like has like opened up like what his like imagination is, essentially. It's like, oh, if this hooved creature that was like a man and a goat, like a ram, like exists and haunted me, like, what else is out there? There's like even if that's not his disposition, that's like, I assume like where a lot of his like imagination and drawing is pulling from.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really good. I like that. Yeah. I think it's very similar to, I thought of these Harvey scenes a lot when I thought of, and I've seen this in like in other works before, but when we were watching Severance and you have, oh my God, what's his name?
Irving?
Irving, who draws all the pictures of the hallways and stuff. And it's like he remembers things that he doesn't necessarily remember. Like he's seeing things that he doesn't necessarily understand or know.
Right.
It's like these things that haunt my nightmares are actually like very real. Mm-hmm. I mean, in Irving's case, I think Irving knows that that's true. Whereas like, I don't think that Harvey 100% knows.
Yeah, he doesn't, because he's like, nobody else saw that. He's like, I'm not entirely convinced it wasn't. I'm convinced it was real, but like I also know that this doesn't quite make sense.
Exactly. So the other thing I really want to talk about is Sabrina being like, what the fuck, both my parents were lying to each other and hiding shit. And my mom got me baptized and then my dad had my name in a book. The communication in the Spellman relationship was obviously not going well. And they're like, oh, they loved each other. And I'm like, he doesn't love you if he's not talking to you. Mm-hmm. And I will die on that hill. I tell all my friends that.
And we can then infer that it was against her wishes to have her dark baptized.
Mm-hmm. And was it against his wishes to have her Catholic baptized?
Exactly. So then like you can assume that if it was done one day before she was dark baptized, that Diana probably made plans against Edward after Edward had already made plans to make sure that this was done.
Yeah. Do you think Diana knew and so she did this first?
Yeah, that's my assumption. And it lends to the credence of like a lot of other people going like, mortals and witches don't mix. Mm-hmm. Like our cultures are not built for this. Mm-hmm. And so in a lot of ways it would just lead to tragedy. So I think that's interesting that it's like, yeah, her parents might have been in a really horrible relationship together.
Yeah, like were they both claiming her? And were they trying to claim her as it's like, okay, well, obviously if she's a witch, she'll live longer like her father. If she's immortal, she dies with her mother. Like, are they trying to claim her as theirs?
Right.
It's also interesting because like there's more to it than this that they haven't revealed yet, that I'm like, oh, like I can't remember like why this all plays out the way it does 100%.
Mm-hmm. But you're like, I know more is coming.
Yeah. Well, and what I do know, I'm like, The other thing I wanted to talk about is Daniel Webster's whole thing with the devil. There's always a trick. It's like the devil offers a deal initially, and he's like, why would the devil offer a deal? Like, what does the Dark Lord get out of this?
Yeah.
And I think that's really fun and really good. And like, it's great to have a mortal be the one who's calling that out.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because he says that Sabrina's father taught him witch law. And so as the viewers were really confused because Sabrina's father presumably loved her, signed her over to the Dark Lord, but taught the lawyer who has the reputation for having basically beat the Dark Lord. Like, because even Ambrose makes the comments like, oh, he's beat the devil. But he hasn't. You know what I mean? And he tells us that at the end that he actually hasn't, but he thinks Sabrina might. But because he did, but all he did to beat the devil was then end up with a horrible situation where now he can only do cases, or he only got cases for horrible people.
Yeah, like that part's like really rough.
What do you think that's like? If a lawyer told me that, I'd be like, oh shit, what does that say about me?
Oh, well, she's
not like a high profile case.
Yeah,
like I understand that, but I'm just like, that's not a good look for me.
True, I didn't think about that.
I'd be like, I got bad company.
Yeah, it's really dark, like what they infer happened to his daughter. The thing I would say is that we do know, kind of like complicating our read on like what's going on with the parents, is that we do know Edward made the deal to offer up her soul to be with Diana. So did Edward tell Diana this, and they colluded together, but knowing that Zelda wouldn't co-sign it, just kept it to Hilda and kept it between them, and then Edward played as he did. You know what I mean?
That's
with Zelda.
That's true. It could be.
Yeah. So
could be
another possibility there. Two things that I want to note here of magic shows with mortals. It is always really hard, and that's just they do a good job of at least showing like why Sabrina would want to be immortal. Like, you don't want to sign your soul away, but it's also like, okay, so it's really, you kind of want those powers, right? And then also like they're doing good stuff with the mortal things of like, hey, here's some like political things that we can pull in of like happening in the real world that we can tell stories about that impact like real people. But also, kind of, don't you want to see all the magic stuff? You know what I mean? Like it's hard like on those balancing things, but I think they're doing a better job of like having more meat a little bit of like to kind of turn over your head with the mortal things. But you're like, but I want to see the ghosts and ghoulies and the magic,
which is what we're gonna get once we get to the Academy of Unseen Arts. I think that's.
It's just comparing the two storylines. It's always just like, well,
I would be a witch.
Maybe she should sign her name away.
Yeah, I think.
But that would be like much worse consequence.
I think them putting the stakes that it is her freedom makes it more explainable, because normally, like, there's been stories that I've read like this, that it's like, I don't want to leave behind my friends, and it's like, bitch, you're gonna outlive them anyway. Might as well get some magic. Make them immortal friends. I mean, honestly, like, I have a handful of friends that I would ride or die for, but like, I can't guarantee that like everyone I was hanging out in high school with was worth giving up my magic for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sabrina's inherently not selfish though, which is a huge part of that, but I am, so.
Right, exactly, because she wants to do everything. She's trying to make it as good for her friends. If she's like, if I'm going to get torn away, I want to make sure everything's all set up for you.
Yes. I even mean that she doesn't want to leave them.
Yeah, right.
But I guess, is that also selfish in a way?
Yeah, truly. That's like who she knows and loves. And then the other thing, too, of we have this balance of, because it's like playing in Christianity, which lots of stories do. It's like, yeah, hell is the embodiment of all that is evil. So then God, and then in this also says the Catholic Church is like the embodiment of all that is good. So, if anybody has recommendations, I'd be really curious of any sorts of good series or things that are playing with like, yeah, kind of both sides are a little weird because like one is like super orderly or something, and the other is a little bit more chaotic and things, and like painting them in a little bit more shades of gray across both. I was like, oh, that'd be interesting to kind of explore.
I think the show does that.
Maybe a little, not at the moment.
Well, at the moment, we don't know anything about the religion. We just know that it would prevent her from being forced to sign her name in the book.
Right.
That she can be one of both.
But the existence of like the Christian heaven and hell means that like kind of like Christianity, being in Christianity and Catholicism is like the right path, because then you end up in heaven, you don't end up in hell.
For mortals.
Exactly. And at least as far as we know right now. This could all be complicated way more, but it's just like... it's not necessarily like a big knock. It's just
we
like
don't know what hell's like.
Yeah.
We don't know if if the Dark Lord for his best mortals has like a nice little party.
Nice little gig.
Yeah.
It's just something. Lots of things have done this. Like, it made me think of the movie Constantine, and Jim would be rolling his eyes because I've never read the Hellblazer comics, and I know that's like his favorite. But it's like a similar thing where it's like he is consigned to hell because he like gave up his like soul to work there, but like he interacts with angels and things to try and get into heaven.
Good Omens does this.
Yes, Good Omens is good about that. I did. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. The other one I need to read is Iwan and Diwali. I don't know if I'm saying that right. From the writer of Witch Hat Atelier. It's a comic series about an angel and a devil, and they're like good friends, and they hang out and get into crazy shenanigans.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next 2 episodes. But for the time being, you can follow us on Blue Sky at dead-ends for any updates. You'll also see it on YouTube if you subscribe to us. You can see that there. At YouTube at dead_ends. You can also find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. And if you have questions or comments or things you want to write to the show that you'd be good for us to discuss, or you just want to talk to us, you could do that on the YouTube comments, or you can send us an email at deadendspcast@gmail.com.
Well, what do we want to say? Not today, Satan.
That's right.
Not today,
Not today, Satan.
And maybe we should all say that every day. Not today, Satan. Not today.
Yeah.
Well, we love you.
Love you.